As you grow older, Superboy, you will find there are forces on the dark side that not even your powers can withstand. We're talking Superboy, young Dracula. Hit it. It was 1988. Astronomers discovered the first exoplanet. Rain Man won Best Picture. And Superboy teamed up with a half vampire to beat another vampire. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas. Halloween, the podcast that talks all things Halloween in the 80s toys, movie specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Halloween in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me is a Totally Rad Christmas All Star and Ratty winner. You know him from San Antonio's premier pop culture podcast, Just Another Friday Night. It's CM Chuck. Man, what's happening?
What is up, Jerry D? Great to be back with you, man. Always a fun time when we get to hang out. Just a little note there, Jerry. It's actually multi-ratty winner. I want to make sure
That's
we
true.
clarify that.
That's true. And several of
The-
them were just for that one serial episode that was awesome.
I was going to say, man, the shelf is brimming. You know what I mean? I've got to make more room. You know what I mean? So it's an epic collection, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jerry. And thank you for having me to talk. Essentially my favorite character in all of fiction, Superman. I mean, well, Superboy, but Superman, you know what I mean?
So. Yeah. Tomato, tomato. It's all the same, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this was a crazy one. So we're going to talk about it. This one was interesting because Superboy at this time had been retconned as not having existed. This was like post-crisis. There was no Superboy. Mm-hmm. So then they created the show, and then DC was like, well, you know what? Let's release a comic. So they created literally a comic tie-in, and it was set in the same universe as the show only. I mean, it was like, whoa, man, DC, you're going crazy here. I love it.
Isn't that kind of their MO, right, Jerry? It's like DC, like they got a well that they go to, and they'll just keep going back.
They'll go back to it, yeah.
And I say, you know what? Kudos on them. Yeah, it worked. I mean, hey, I'm in line. You know what I mean? I'm ready for it. So.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So, spoiler alert: the Superman movie came out, and it was awesome. We might not talk about it tonight, but yes, it was pretty awesome.
Absolutely, man. You can't not love it, man. You can't not, if those trailers alone had you so high.
I know. Guy Gardner.
How could you be disappointed, man? Crypto? I mean, come on, man.
Crypto's never been my favorite character, but I'm jazzed to see him in this movie.
Yeah.
Like the more I've watched the trailer, the more I'm like, oh man, okay, I'm glad he's in it. And I know James Gunn's going to do something awesome with it because of Guardians 3, right? Guardians of the Galaxy 3, all the stuff with Rocket and his friends.
Dude, trust me, I was hypercritical, Jerry. I was a naysayer, even though I had to go back and realize, and I had to count on my hand and say, I love James Gunn stuff. I was like, why am I hating? Why am I not a believer? But I think it's because he was handling the big blue, handling the biggest in the world, in my opinion, the best in the world, and I said, well, it's one thing when you're playing in the Guardians toy box. It's another thing when you're playing with,
That's right. Nobody knows those guys.
This guy is the first face on superhero Mount Rushmore, Superman. You know what I mean? So
for sure.
If you're going to do it, you got to do it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Superman he's special. And I'm going to go on record saying I liked Henry Cavill. He just had terrible scripts and direction to work with. If the vision was like this James Gunn version where, Superman is hopeful and bright and peppy, and like a symbol and spirit of hope and goodwill, I think Henry Cavill would have killed it. But the fact that he just had to be this dour, depressed kind of Superman and
right.
It just,
As much as I love Steel, and it's grown on me, and I've even BVS. I mean, I guess it's kind of one of those things, right, Jerry, where it's like when you watch the Hugh Jackman Wolverine movies, you're still happy to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, even though you're like, man, this movie's kind of bad.
Right,
Like,
yeah. As well, especially X-Men Origins Wolverine and
yeah,
that one
just that.
was
I
oof.
know, super tough, man. I mean, and then how do you get the Japan story wrong? It just feels like that would have been an easy grab. But man, yeah, I just think
Yeah.
about Man of Steel, that scene where you've got bearded Cavill walking around, and you've literally got Chris Cornell, solo music playing. And I'm like, I love '90s grunge, but there cannot be more dour music for
That's
Superman of
right.
all guys. Like
That's right.
you put dour Chris Cornell heavy vocals, man, with Batman. You don't put that with
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Superman. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It was, yeah. So, yeah, good movie. We'll be talking a little bit about Superman, but
Right, right.
before we do that, just like Carol Kane did to Bill Murray and Scrooged, I want you to hit me with the toaster. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I want you to hit me with the first thing you can think about. Okay, you don't have to think too hard about it. So
Sounds
let's
good.
say that you're spending Christmas with Superboy and Lana. Okay,
Mhm,
would
mhm.
you rather go caroling, trim the tree, or shop for presents?
I'm gonna go with Shop for Presents because I feel like we can get Superboy to fly us around. You know what I mean? Get put a couple of blankets over us. Me and Lana have a hot cocoa. Soups just carries us under each arm. You know what I mean? And we're gonna hit all the good places, at least here in San Antonio, that are a far drive, so we can go up to La Cantera, and then we can go across to the south side and zip down to the north. We might even go see you, Jerry, up at
Yeah, yeah. Come
Decorators
come to
Warehouse.
the store, man.
It's
We'll have a great time.
it's got to be a quick flight, right? I mean, it might be. It doesn't get too cold here in South Texas, so we think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think the wind would be all right, especially if you had some hot cocoa. I like that. See, I think that's a good one. I don't know if I kind of would probably want to go Christmas caroling. I think that's just
You're
it's
just a caroler,
one of our
Jerry.
family traditions. Nobody does it, and I mean, I'd like to see Superman sing. I'd like to hear him sing, or Superboy, excuse me. I don't know if he'd sing well or not, but you know what? I'm into seeing him try. So,
Yeah, no
all
doubt,
right.
no doubt.
All right, let's say that Byron, that's the half vampire from the story. Let's say Byron is George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. Okay, so he's real depressed. He's thinking of ending it. Which horror movie monster would be his Clarence that would try to save his life?
Oh, interesting. You know who gives me Clarence vibes is just Igor. You know what I mean? When you think about
Oh,
Igor,
wow.
he's already kind of, he seems kind of like a sidekick-ish anyway,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I could see Igor definitely giving Byron some reasons to continue to feed Master, you know what I mean?
I like that, especially if it's Marty Friedman from Young Frankenstein. You
Oh,
know,
I would love that. I would love that. Yeah.
pronounced
Igor.
Igor. Yeah.
What hump? What are
That's
you talking what are you talking about?
that's so good. Oh man, that's classic.
I barely heard Jerry that not to interrupt, but
No, go for it. Go for it.
that Quentin Tarantino considers that he has like a list of like movies that are perfect. On that list is like Jaws, Annie Hall, like a couple other like movies
Yeah.
you would expect Tarantino to say. But one of the Back to the Future, and one of the ones he considers a perfect film is Young Frankenstein. And I gotta say, I don't disagree with him. I mean,
Yeah.
I love Tarantino; he's my favorite. But I'm like, it's interesting that he pulled that movie because it really is. It has excellent pacing. The beats are all there. It's funny beginning to end. It's really wonderful. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, that is a great pull. That's kind of how you feel about Back to the Future, right? Like it's like all the
Oh,
beats
yeah.
are there. Like it's like
Yeah,
there's
totally.
no lulls. Like it's not ever not you're not ever not entertained, which is a
And,
perfect movie.
and just think like in an alternate universe, we have Eric Stoltz Back to the Future out there somewhere, and it's just no like
Whoa.
it was forgettable, right? Like it didn't go down in history. So I'm glad we're in this universe with the real Marty McFly, Michael J.
Absolutely.
Fox.
Absolutely. We'll keep Michael J. Fox for us.
That's right. And finally, would you rather fight a vampire or Metallo?
Oh man. You know, I'm gonna go vampire purely out of like I feel like maybe I might have more opportunity to win because of what I know about them, but
Yeah.
also I feel like if I lose, maybe I can convince them to turn me. And I've always been a vampire guy. They're my favorite. They're my
Yeah.
favorite monster, and I feel like if I'm at their whim and it's either drain me or turn me, I'm like, turn me instead. I'll serve you. You know what I mean? I'll be a creature of the night with you. You know what I mean? Metallo, I don't know. He's gonna probably just crush me or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like a punch from Metallo might pack a little more oomph
Yeah,
than a
I don't think I
vampire.
have what it takes to go toe to toe with him. I need the superpowers, otherwise I'm gonna get it's gonna be a bad day.
Well, and I always wear a crucifix under my under my shirt,
Oh,
so I'm
look at
prepared
you.
for a vampire just in case.
I just try to keep a hefty dose of garlic breath going.
That's why I eat pizza a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's good. That's
yeah.
good. Well, that's just a way for our listeners to get to know you a little bit better. So thank you for that. Now, tonight we're here to talk Superboy, which was a show from 1988. What do you remember about Superboy? Did you watch the show? Did you know about it, or
Yeah.
Superboy in general? This is
No,
also
no doubt. So of course I know your audience can't see me, Jerry, but I got my Connor Kent shirt on here.
Yeah,
The,
yeah.
the kind of like the modern Superboy, right? So
Yeah.
so when I think Superboy, Jerry, I really do think of Return of the Superman, the 90s comic books after the
Yeah.
death. And I think of that short-haired version with a leather jacket, you know what I mean?
That's
I always thought that was a cool cover,
yeah,
you know?
that's like the Superboy when I finally thought, man, Superboy's pretty cool. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
Because up till then, I just thought, in my mind, I always thought too, like again, you talked earlier about the retconning and all that. I was like, how is it that, he was by my knowledge of the Reeve movies, there was no Superboy. He didn't
right.
become Superman until he went to the Fortress of Solid. And of course, this is like, you're talking about the John Byrne reboot, right? You know what I mean? That like
Yeah, and yeah, that happened in
we
like
got to get it organized.
87-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was crazy, right? With gold kryptonite, blue kryptonite, red kryptonite. You're like, wait,
That's right. Yeah.
Superman's buddy Jimmy Olsen. There's like all this stuff, right? Crypto the dog. We talked about that, right? It's like so it kind of like they had to fix it. So I always was confused by that too. Like, where does he fit in, right? So
Right.
I did know that there were Superboy comics, and then I did know of this show because you're gonna have to help me with the actor's name, but he kind of comes up sometimes when people bring up all the people that have put on the costume, right? So I knew of the show, but it was one of those things that I would have probably watched it, but I didn't in its time. 88, I would have been probably 7, and I was gobbling up comic book stuff, you know what I mean? Even then.
Mhm.
And I just must have like not known what channel it was on or known where to find it or just never caught it. Did it only run one season? Do you?
No, it was 4 seasons long.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now,
Okay.
I did not know about the show, and I was huge
Hmm.
into comics as well.
Hmm.
And like the first one that I remembered after Superman 4 was like Lois and Clark.
Right.
That was until 93. This show was like in between. This was from 88 to 92. And I was like, what are you talking about, Superboy?
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. I want to go back now. I
I
mean, like,
know, yeah. Yeah, you can find the whole series on Apple TV, or most of the episodes are actually on Daily Motion as well. So you can find a lot of them
Nice.
there.
Nice.
So
So, Jared, do you know where it ran? Like, was it like on ABC or something like
this
that?
was,
Or,
let's see, on, well, I want to say CBS, but let me double check. I have it written down here.
I mean, good on it though for getting 4 seasons because I just got through hearing Tyler Hoechlin, who played Superman in
Oh
the
no, it
Superman.
was it was in syndication. That's why. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was just whoever,
Got
the
it.
local stations, if they bought it and decided to run it, they would run it. So
Well,
yeah.
that's probably, it might
Yeah.
not even have been in our local area. I mean,
Well, it's
because,
also true. Yeah, it might
you
not have
know,
been.
oddly enough, in 88, I was living in San Antonio because my dad was stationed in Korea at the time. And for that year that he was on that tour, we lived at home. So it's kind of funny. I went to kindergarten in California, first grade in San Antonio, and then like second, third, fourth, fifth in California again before my dad got out of the military and we came back home. So I mean, I guess the local San Antonio syndication didn't have it because
Yeah.
I didn't know about it until like again later on when people would bring up pictures of everyone again that's wearing the Superman costume. I was like, who's this kid? And then
Yeah.
I did my own
Right.
research. I was like, oh, there was a Superboy show, and I was like, I don't remember that, but I never looked far enough into it. This is the first episode of it I've seen, the one we
Yeah.
watched here.
Same. This is
Okay.
exactly the same. So let me run down a little history so we know. But
Mhm.
the Salkinds, Alexander and Ilya, they had the Superman property. They produced the movies with Christopher Reeve, at least the first few. They sold the rights to Canon Films, and Canon, of course, produced Superman 4, but they still had rights to everyone else. So they produced Supergirl, which was kind of a flop. And then
Becky
they
Slade.
produced this show. And while the show ran, like I said, for 4 seasons, it didn't have like a lot of punch. And
Mhm.
so they decided to to when it ended to continue with Superman. Now, funny enough, the guy that played Superboy in this, which was, let's see, I have it here. Yeah,
I
Gerard
remember.
Christopher. So he actually auditioned for the role of Clark in Lois and Clark, like to be
Oh
like to
wow.
continue. And they were like, "Wait a minute, you already played Superboy. We don't want you." I was like,
Oh
"That's crazy!" Like, no, man,
yeah.
the continuity would have been awesome.
Very cool.
But yeah, so they decided to do this to make this show. And like I said earlier, it was weird timing with like the actual continuity of Superboy. So, like you said, John Byrne really streamlined the whole Superman mythos
Yeah.
or mythos, however you want to pronounce it. And he like got rid of a lot of stuff. He really brought down Superman's powers, which is why
Mhm.
both in this show and in Lois and Clark, there's a lot of things that you're like, well, Superman could have done that easily, that he
Right.
just doesn't do because they really tamed his powers.
Yeah.
In the 60s, and of course nowadays too, but he was moving planets around,
Oh
it's like,
yeah.
and nowadays, same thing. But back then they were like, yeah, let's tone it down a bit. So,
Yeah, I get it. I felt
yeah,
like they were probably thinking it's difficult to write somebody at that power
at
level.
that power
How
level,
how
yeah,
how is anybody a challenge, right? Um,
exactly, exactly.
which is kind of funny, right, Jerry? Because the Superman and Lois show with Tyler Hoechlin that was on CW,
Oh, yeah,
wonderful show, man, and really poetic and beautiful ending. If you
yeah,
haven't seen it, I highly suggest. Tyler Hoechlin does a great job, and one of the key parts of that show is that it's Superman as a dad. You know what I mean? So
hmm
he's got these twin boys, and he's got obviously his wife Lois, and you see him going through things that you're like, superpowers wouldn't help you in that. You need to
yeah.
be like, you've got to like know dad stuff. I mean, what do you tell your kids when they're like, what do you mean you were running off all the time to like rescue cats out of trees? You missed our baseball game. It's like, yikes, Superman, you're in a tough spot right there. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. I really enjoyed it. So,
Yeah.
another one there. And of course, we're talking Superboy, but if you were to ask me my next iteration, I would probably think of, Smallville. You know what I mean? And
Smallville's
and
another, yeah.
that to me was like, I mean, with the 10 seasons that thing had, I mean, that was like the big Superboy story, right? It was,
It
uh,
really was, if you think about it. And he
mhm.
didn't become Superboy, so it still kind of followed that post-crisis thing.
Yeah,
Like, I knew of Superboy, and I always remember thinking, like, why is Superman like small and skinny, and then I realized, oh, it's Superboy. Like, this was back when I was
hmm
little, but I always just was like, okay, well, who cares about Superboy when there's Superman? That's like
yeah,
that sounds more powerful. And so I was always more into Superman, and then they got rid of him, and I was like, okay, and I'd completely forgot about him until I think it was the Infinite Crisis event when Superboy Prime is there, and then he like
yeah,
accidentally starts killing people, and then he just becomes like evil, and you're like, what the
right.
heck? And so yeah, I was like, wow, all right, this is cool. This is cool. But like you also mentioned death after the death of Superman, we had the four clones,
Mhm.
or, not necessarily clones, but the four replacement Supermans, I should say.
Yes. Yeah.
And, one of them was Superboy, and he had the leather jacket. I remember him fighting Spider-Man and like the amalgam,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
little amalgam comics thing. And so like it was super cool, but I still had no idea that this show existed.
Right. Right.
And
And
Gerard Christopher, who plays Superboy in this, also was a replacement. He came in season two and did the rest of it. Season one was like
oh,
a whole other guy.
really?
Yeah, it was like John Hames Newton. And
Okay.
I don't know I've never heard why he left, but yeah, he just left. And
That's
so,
pretty wild. That's kind of the same thing that happened in the Superman and Lois show. Like I think the last season, one of the kids that played the Jonathan Kent character, he just kind of bailed, and he
mm,
was like he wasn't going to do it anymore. And
yeah.
I think it was like mental health stuff or whatever. And so
Oh, maybe, yeah.
they brought in a new kid, which even I was thinking, I was like, the show's doing well, but has the fame gotten that serious for you? Like, I mean, you get a little money, right, man? You don't know how to
I
act
mean,
anymore.
yeah,
So
who's to say what you'll do? Well, it's the same thing with
absolutely.
Lois and Clark because Jimmy was replaced in season two as well.
That's right. That's right. They
Yeah.
did do that. I do remember that. Yeah, pretty
So
wild, man.
I guess it's like
Uh,
a thing. Now, I did want to ask, okay, if Superman's fighting Dracula, like,
mhm.
is that even really like a contest? That seems no contest. And here he's struggling a bit. And there's a sequel episode to this, which we'll probably hit on a little bit later. But same thing. It's like Superman versus vampires. Like, come on,
Right.
That's no
Right.
contest, right?
No, it should not be. I mean, I was wondering which way you were going to go on that, Jared, because somebody could argue that they're magical, right? I mean, like, I
So I
mean,
did some research. Yes.
uh-huh.
I'm anxious to share this because I was like, oh, this is good stuff. Okay. So in the DC world, vampirism is like a magical based curse. So like
Okay.
in Marvel, they it's really more of like a in especially in the Blade movies, right? It's like an
Hmm.
infection, right? It's like a disease, it's passed.
Yeah.
But here it's like an actual like magical curse that's passed. So
Interesting.
there is an issue, Superman Volume 2, number 180 from May of 2002, where Dracula actually does bite Superman, and because
Oh,
he's
wow.
magic based, it can pierce his skin.
Interesting.
The what Dracula doesn't realize is that Superman's entire biology is run on like solar power. So Dracula, by biting him,
Oh,
basically like explodes.
oh, that's awesome.
I
That is awesome.
I'll
Send me
send you
that
the
issue.
scan. Yeah,
Send
I'll
me
send you
that
the scans
scan.
I found. Yeah. I
And
was like,
it's
dang.
as they were kind of fighting in this, what was going on, that occurred to me is I thought that I was like, well, a vampire probably could bite him because if you consider them magical creatures, then they
Right.
could probably bite him. But I was and I like a vampire done properly, that they've got strength and speed. So I was like,
Yeah.
maybe this could be a little bit of a formidable fight. And I was thinking like traditional things, he can hit him with heat vision, but man, it didn't even occur to me that his solar biology,
Right.
that's a fantastic finish. And I actually thought, not to spoil the end of this episode, but how this episode finishes was also fantastic. I
That
was
was
like,
Superman was
dude,
smart. Yeah, or Superboy. I keep saying Superman. I'm sorry.
no, no, you're right
Superboy
though.
was smart. Yeah.
I
But
was like, what a finisher.
speaking speaking of strength, though, so I did some research on this too. Okay, so let's say, or according to Bram Stoker in his novel, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Dracula has a strength of 20 strong men. So I was like, okay, how much can the strongest, like what's the most a person's ever bench pressed? Like just no help, just bench press. So without the bench shirt or whatever it's called, a guy who was like 794 pounds. So I said, let's round it up to 800.
Okay.
20 times 800 would be 16,000, which is only 8 tons. Only.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Superman, as we've said, can move planets around. We've seen him crush diamonds like with his
Yeah.
palm, and it takes okay, it takes 725,000 pounds per square inch of pressure to create a diamond. So just like by squeezing his hand, he can way outdo Dracula. So
There's nothing I love better, Jerry, than when like another strong guy like comes at Superman, right? And then like he kind of just takes their hit and then he just like proceeds to like crush their hand or something like that. They start to
yes.
like I could just imagine Dracula being like, fool. I'm way, I have the strength of 20 men, you know what I mean? It just come at him and then Superman just like bend his hands back and be like, ah.
So the real question is, how would Superman fare against Count Chocula? So
Oh, man, the marshmallowy chocolatey goodness is tough to
it's
beat,
I'm
Jerry. I
telling you,
mean,
I'm telling you.
even we all know Superman has a sweet tooth, so he's
Hmm.
vulnerable.
Oh man, but let's get into this episode. So this is
Okay,
from season
yeah,
2, episode 4. Later on in episode 16 of that same season, the characters come back, and there's a funny bit in that sequel. So this one's called Young Dracula. It turns out that the protagonist is the son of Dracula, although he just says like one of my kind or whatever. But
yeah. I was gonna say you're leading me because I was like, wait, you already said half vampire, and I was like, I didn't get all that in this episode. There's more to the story, the lore here.
yeah, yeah. So in episode 16, later on, the sequel to this, we
Mhm.
actually, like he says, his dad is Dracula.
My serum will cure both of you completely.
Well, what about you?
I was born with the blood of my father in my veins. My cure is a different matter. Goodbye, Lana.
Where will you go?
I have to keep running. Now he'll never stop searching for me.
Byron, who's your father?
My father is the Prince of Darkness. He is Count Dracula.
Dracula actually comes, but he never gets off his plane. He takes like a private jet, like a black jet, to meet his son, and Superboy's there, and then he never gets off the plane. It's hilarious. Anyway,
I
but
gotta see this next.
it's yeah, man. I was cracking up. But so okay, the episode, it's called Young Dracula. It starts off with Lana Lang, and she's played here by Stacey Hydak, who is from Sequest DSV. I don't know if you remember that show with Jonathan Brandis
I do
and
remember
Roy
that show.
Scheider.
This
Yeah,
would have been before, though, right?
this was before that. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, because
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that was
All
like
right.
90 or 91, something like
Yeah.
that. Maybe even 93. Anyway, so she was in that. She comes out of the local store, right? And she drops her groceries and she runs into like this hypnotically charming stranger. And you know something's up with him because the music is all spooky and eerie, and
Yeah.
she can't take her eyes off him, and he's just speaking in this seductive voice. I mean,
Yes.
it's like, all
All
right,
the
this
tropes. All
this
the
guy's a
tropes.
vampire. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And he was played by Kevin Bernhardt, who was from General Hospital and Dynasty and a few things like
Okay.
that. But
Okay.
he had like a very, I don't know, seductive, like I could see Peter Jackson casting him as like an elf,
Yeah, I
in
could
Lord
see
of the
that.
Rings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he has like that kind of, perfectly symmetrical face and everything. And
He had the big coiffed, black hair. You know what I mean? So
yes,
it's
he
like,
did.
all right. It's like,
Right.
they didn't go over the top with how his vampire look, and I think we'll get into that with who does.
Yeah,
look
they might later on. They do later on with the old vampire.
If you
But
weren't sure what he was, by the time you get to the next guy, you definitely know
that's
what
right. Yeah, they don't leave anything to the imagination there. But like he helps her up, and then she goes away. She drives away, and he goes inside this little like five and dime kind of store, and there's two robbers, right? They're like loaded their guns outside. They go in to rob the store. The first one goes in, and so the stranger like does his vampire glamour thing, like hypnotizes him, and he like throws himself into a table, which
apparently knocks you out, right?
I guess so. So the other guy comes in and he shoots him, but of course nothing happens to the guy. All you see is the two bullet holes. He turns around and the robber grabs a bat to beat him. And instead the vampire just like, why don't you just like hit your head on the floor or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's abusing the power, definitely, for sure. But at first I was kind of like, why didn't he just toss him around? And I was like, no, they weren't worth it. He's like, I'll just use this power on you because you're not even worth getting my hands dirty, which, I love that. You know what I mean? So,
he's like, I don't feel like sweating today.
but also initially my thing was like, oh, he's doing something kind of heroic here. Like,
Right.
That's just
Right.
if I was watching a Superboy show of the week, I would have assumed that this was the villain of the day, right?
Oh, big time.
So to see him do something kind of counterintuitive to villainy is like, well, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So
Right.
and then we kind of get the when he sees the clerk, he's bleeding a little bit from the head. He gets that wild look in his eyes. You know what I mean? He's like, oh man, that looks like a snack right there.
Also, like this whole thing, as we're going to see later on, it made me really wonder if David Goyer like saw this episode and was like, they did it with
Dude.
Superboy. Their mistake was, Superboy.
Yeah.
They should have done it with Blade.
I was gonna say, Jerry, after I saw this, I was kind of like, is this White Blade? I was like, this is the exact same story.
Exactly.
I was like, holy cow. I mean, I was, right down to when he gets to the serum and putting his hunger at bay. I mean, I know you're going to get to it, but I was like, whoa. I was like, okay, I would never have guessed that 99 Blade, the movie you could essentially,
really
kicked off
started
Marvel. Yeah.
Owes
it to Superboy. I was like, dang. DC does it again, man.
Well, especially because in the comics, before that movie came out, in the comics, Blade was only immune to vampire bites. That's it. He didn't have any of like all the special vampire powers. It was just he could not be turned.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was because of that movie that Blade started getting well, he is kind of a vampire and he's the day walker and all this other stuff.
Daywalker.
Yeah, and it's so I was like, you know what? Maybe David Goyer ripped off Superboy.
Dude, we'd probably be surprised, right? Like, just like musicians are inspired by, a beat they hear or something like that they
Yeah,
see, then they write
yeah,
a whole tune about it. I'm sure that this guy was like, I can, you can see that and obviously improve on it, right? Like, it's like, hey,
yeah,
this would be
yeah.
really great with Blade.
That movie's great. It really is.
Dude, someone needs to question him and ask him and be like, hey, man, come on.
For
We
real.
saw the episode. We heard Totally Rad
Yeah,
Christmas. We
we
know what's
know.
up.
We know what you did.
We
So,
connected the dot.
so Clark's walking with his friend Andy. They're walking down the street and a girder falls, right? And Clark like saves him, gets hit on the head, but of course he's Superboy, so nothing happens and he has to play it off. But
Yeah.
Andy, look out!
Wow. Did somebody call an ambulance or something?
Clark's, like I mentioned, played by Gerard Christopher from Days of Our Lives. He was on Melrose Place. And Andy, I don't know if you recognized him, the friend,
I didn't know.
who's like there talking about his like awesome shirt.
Yeah, his shirt. Yeah, the blonde
Which I was,
kid. Yeah.
I was like, ooh, is that shirt really awesome? Anyway,
No, it's
he was, yeah, he was played by Elon Mitchell Smith from Weird Science.
Look, Chad, it's a real long story. Gary and I were messing around with the computer Friday night. We decided to make a woman. We did. And she
Who
went
was he
crazy.
in
and she
that?
messed up the
He was one of the main kids. It was like him and Anthony Michael Hall were the two kids.
Oh, he's the dark-haired kid?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's
I didn't
right.
recognize him at all. He looked totally different.
I know, it's crazy. I was like, man,
Wow.
that dude beefed up and
Yeah, all right. Got a
Like, good-
tan. You know what I mean?
like good for you. Later on in the second Dracula episode, he's like vampire hunter. He's got like a big old like cloves of garlic hanging from him, and he's got a
Okay.
crucifix and stakes, and you're like, all right, guy, you go all Lost Boys on it. I'm into it.
I love it. I love it. So, Jerry, let me ask you something. Okay,
Yeah.
so because
Okay.
I know we're both unfamiliar with the show, but I know you
Yeah.
do your research. So is this guy like the Jimmy Olsen of the time? Is he like the constant friend?
So there was two, and then later on there was
Okay.
a third. In the first season, there was a Clark's roommate there at Schuster College, which was a guy named TJ.
Okay.
And again, I don't know what happens, written off or whatever, but Andy
Okay.
was another guy that was around quite often. But
All right.
in this case, he's definitely like for this at least these two episodes, he's definitely the Jimmy Olsen of the group. You know,
Okay. Okay. And then obviously, like, I mean, I was listening for the names, right? Because I was like, okay, who is this supposed to be? And then when I heard Lana's name, I was like, okay, so they still using the Lana Lang character, obviously Superman.
right? Because
boyhood-
Superboy, yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah.
Superboy, Superboy's, boyhood girlfriend. So I was like, okay, this is Lana. And then I heard at the end of the episode when he tells Byron, he's like, which is also great, right? Jerry Lord Byron, right? You know,
Byron,
and he got-
yeah, Lord Byron and Mary Shelley. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But when he tells him, he's like, hey, are you sure you don't want to stick around? He says Schuster can grow on you. I remember thinking to myself, like, Schuster, like, oh, they named the city after,
They
Joe
did.
Schuster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. But as we get into the doctor part, I was like, how old is this kid supposed to be? I wasn't sure. Is this like a teen Clark? Because I was like, the one kid was doing his residency and he's looking at Lana, but I don't know what ages they're supposed to be. So I'm
Well,
glad you're saying college now.
It didn't help that it was also the 80s where everyone looked 40, right? Like all the teenagers looked our age, and you're like, you're not a teenager. Come on.
No kidding, man.
Like you should be reporting the weather like on camera or something.
I'm like, are you sure you're not a linebacker for?
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's set in Seagullville, like
Oh, okay.
which is where Schuster College or Schuster University is. So it's
How cool, Siegel and
yeah.
Schuster. That's awesome that they gave it that. So they're not in Smallville.
they're not in
out of
Smallville. No. Yeah.
Okay, very
Yeah.
cool. All right. I was trying to get and they're college age, obviously, maybe like
Right.
freshmen or
I don't recall
sophomores.
exactly what age, but I assume since it's season 2, maybe sophomores.
Okay,
It does
okay.
make me want to go back and like start, the
Yeah.
whole show and kind of watch it, how it progresses. But also, after seeing some of the effects, I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to.
Yeah, that girder bunk on the head was a little bit like woof.
Yeah, exactly. But, so they're worried. So he takes Clark to the doctor. Of course,
Mm,
we know he doesn't need it because he's Superboy, but
yeah.
Andy doesn't know that. And it turns out, like you said, Dr. Byron Shelley walks in and he
Mhm.
wants to get an X-ray and he takes Clark's glasses off. And I like how Clark's trying to, hide his face from Jimmy. He's like really turning away and
Yeah.
cowering and or not Jimmy, Andy, excuse me. I said
Andy.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, he's like really trying to hide it. But also, he doesn't want him scanning because he knows
Right.
who knows what they're going to pick up with this alien
Exactly.
physiology. So he
Mhm.
uses his heat vision to like sever one of the cords.
Yes. Yeah.
That's odd. We seem to have a dead screen here.
Those things happen sometimes.
Thank God. I thought you might be in a coma or something.
Is this guy tough or what?
I like
Very,
Shelley's.
very cool. He puts him in the CAT scan machine. He's like, well, let's just check to be sure. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I like what he says. He's like, oh, it barely grazed me. You know what I mean? Like,
I was like,
it
no,
was a
that thing
girder,
hit you
man.
straight up on the head, man.
It bonked him like a whack-a-mole. Like,
That's right.
but also too, again, I don't know where we're at with Superboy's development powers here, but I'm like, you couldn't just zip both of you out of the way. Like you
Right.
still had you pushed him and then got hit by the girder. But obviously the stories have to progress here. So I mean, I'm
Yeah,
okay with
yeah.
it.
There's got to be, something, but, but yeah, for real. Like Superboy could have super sped them both away, right? I mean,
Right.
yeah. Even with his powers toned down to where they were, he still could have done that.
I was
So
going to say that too, right, Jerry? If a girder hits Superboy on the head, wouldn't the girder bend?
the
Like,
girder
I
should
don't
bend,
know.
right?
In that spot, right? Like brink,
I
what
would
mean?
think so. Now, maybe it did. We didn't see it afterwards,
That's
so who
true.
knows?
That's true. We need the uncut version where the story of the girder. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
That's right. It's like this series adjacent where it follows like the construction workers that are like, what the heck happened to this girder?
Well, you know what happens, right, Jerry? Like either LexCorp or Star Labs shows up and they're like, I saw this girder hit this boy and then it bent in this spot. We need to get more info on him. You know
Oh,
what I
that's
mean?
right. Yeah, and if this was like nowadays, they would be tracking down the guys who recorded it with their cell phones,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
posted it on
Eyewitnesses
YouTube.
be getting black bagged and kidnapped.
That's right. That's Lex would totally do that for sure. So anyway, this is where he meets Byron Shelley, like we said. He uses the heat vision to disable the machine, and Lana comes in,
Mhm.
and she and Dr. Shelley have like, Byron have like this thing, which is, the whole vampire glamour, whatever it's called. I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I've heard it called mainly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And he's like, oh, we meet again.
Yeah, of course,
and,
right?
and Lana's like, oh, I'm so drawn to you. It's great.
Hmm.
But,
No, go ahead. Oh, I was gonna just say, do you know if there's supposed to be like a romance between Clark and Lana at this time, or is that kind of not?
so as far as I can tell, because he's on the phone in in the second episode to this, he's on the
Uh-huh.
phone with his mom, and Lana's like gone to Byron to help him out because he lost like his bag of stuff of
Okay.
serum, and so he's on the phone with his mom before he notices the note that she left, and he's like, yes, Lana and I go on dates, but they're like friendly dates. And so
Oh, I see. I see.
I
Okay.
think like Clark would like to, but is still
All right.
he might be friend zoned. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. You're in
that's
college, Clark. Pull the trigger, buddy. Come on.
I, that's right. That's right. So I don't think that they're really together, but you can tell he's still a little
Okay.
jealous when she's like all googly eyes over.
Yeah. He
uh,
is now. Is it him or Andy that's like, well, come on, Lana. Like, what are
Well,
you
I think it's
doing?
both because
Oh, okay.
I
They're
think
like,
Andy's into it too because she says something about friends and he's like, well, I'm her friend too. It's like putting his
yeah.
arm around her, like
And they
trying to
walk off and
skip
she
some.
stays behind talking to this residency, which I'm like, how old is, well, obviously he must be very old, but I'm like, how old are you supposed to be being here? Because I'm like, these kids are in college
Right?
and you're doing your residency. Well, I guess, do you do that in college as a doctor? No, you already would be have
I
done
think.
several
I mean,
years.
honestly, I have no idea. Grey's Anatomy didn't teach me that.
No, I know. I mean, all I did was ER with George Clooney. They were already doctors in that
That's
show. So
that's right. And I mostly watched House. House
yeah,
is
there
really
you
what I
go.
watched. My wife watched Grey's Anatomy. So I don't know, but of course, they also even in the sequel, they don't say when he's born. So I don't know if it's in the 1900s, 1800s. I mean, I don't know when.
Okay. Very cool.
But so so I do like how Clark sneaks in later that night to like fix the machine, right? He like gets the two cords and like uses his heat vision to solder them back together and like
My initial thought, Jerry, was like, was there a need? I mean, like, it's okay, Clark. But then I realized I was like, no, this is Clark Kent. He would definitely go back
he would
and fix
totally
something
do
he
it, yeah.
broke.
And it was his fault, so
Yeah, I was like, okay, it's a very, very Clark. That's when you get the Clark Kent side, right? That's Ma and Pa Kent coming
That's
through.
right.
Right there.
That's
You
right.
broke it, son. Go back and fix it. Okay.
Yeah, if it's your fault, you got to clean up your own mess, right?
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
but then it hard cuts to Lana in a parking lot, like a parking garage.
Yeah, that jarred me too. I was like, what happened here? Do we miss a piece or
And
what?
she's like
It's
looking for Byron. And I was like, when did they meet? And so there's like this one throwaway line.
I don't really know why I'm here exactly. I just knew I had to see you again.
It's a power we have, child, over the female of the species. We are irresistible.
By this voice that we hear, and then who turns out to be this older vampire played by Lloyd Bachner in stereotypical Dracula garb. He's got the vest, the cape, the medal, the frilly shirt. I mean, it's Lloyd Bachner. By this time, he was like in his 50s, I think. I mean, he's like, come on.
What do people know him from, Jerry? Where would we know him from?
So Love Boat, he was in Love Boat, Fantasy Island. I knew him. He was one of the business partner in A Mouse, a Mystery, and Me, which I covered on this show in season 3 as well.
Okay.
Don't mention food. My teeth are killing me. George, you're half owner of this store. How long are you going to go on doing this two-bit Santa Claus thing?
All the 80s classics then. He's
Yeah,
been
but
all
Love
the- all
Boat.
the 80s
Oh,
ones.
and Naked Gun 2.5 as well.
Okay,
He was in that
okay.
also, yeah. But like, he's just, when I think of like vampire, I don't think
yeah.
Lloyd Bachner. I'm sorry.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And it's just so funny, right? Like how iconic that, Bela Lugosi and the Universal people made that costume, right? So if you were watching this show and you didn't know, like you were kind of like, well, does this guy have mind powers or is he like an alien? Like, I don't really know what's going on yet. Maybe you didn't put the pieces together. You were like, oh, they're vampires.
They're
right at that moment.
as soon as you see
Okay.
him, yeah.
Yeah, the medallion, the red, the red sash with the medallion on it, the black, the high
The high.
collared cape. I was like,
That's right.
oh, okay, all right. I was like, he's leaning all the way into.
I was
it,
like,
so,
well, someone stopped at Spirit Halloween and picked up a costume.
someone was rooting around in Bela Lugosi's old
His old
wardrobe.
closet. But he has like a throwaway line because she says, I don't know why I'm drawn to you. And he's like, oh, well, people of our sort, have this like power over the other sex or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's literally what it is. It's just a throwaway line that because of their like vampiric aura or whatever, she was drawn to try to find him in this parking garage, which I guess he was there because he does happen to be in the garage.
Right, yeah.
Because as Lloyd Bachner's about to bite her, we see that he kind of vamps out a little bit and like tries to ram him with his car.
Yeah.
Superboy also hears a scream and tries to go, but yeah.
And kind of gets there kind of late. I was like,
I
what
know.
are you doing during all the action here? Like they have a whole exchange. And I was like, also, why didn't he get out of the car and just fight him? The old vampire goes as far as to like reach into the car and yank him out. I was like, oh dang, he's like Grand Theft Autoing this guy right now. Like, so
That's right.
As you're telling me now that I know he's half, it makes sense. Maybe he's not as powerful, which he does say later in this, but he's like, he's older and more powerful than me.
He does say that, right?
Yeah, and I was like, okay.
And I think they just wanted the special effect of him like lifting the car,
Yeah, which was cool.
He lifts the car up and like turns it over, and then like you said, he just like reaches in, like breaks the window, grabs Byron, and like yanks him out, and he's gonna bite Byron. Like that's his thing. Even though this guy's already got like Dracula's blood in his veins, but he's like, all right, well your dad wants you, so I'm gonna bite you, and you're gonna come back to us.
I found you at last, blasphemer. I'm taking you with me, alive or undead. He wants you back.
And then Superboy shows up, and the old vampire like mists away, you know, or like he
Yes,
shades
yeah.
away. Turns into a mist and like floats away. It's like the greatest, but like it's the worst special effects ever.
I know. It's just like I'm not dealing with this guy in another cape. Two guys in capes can't have it. Got to get out of here.
Exactly, exactly. And Superboy's like gonna like manhandle Byron because Byron's still kind of vamped out, you know. He's
Right.
like, oh, with his fangs, and then
Yeah.
Lana's like, no, he saved me,
And he's like,
and
oh, all
so
right. Yeah.
yeah, so he just kind of like passes out. So they wind up. He wakes up. Byron wakes up. They're back at his apartment. He's like, how do you know where I live? And Superboy's like, well, it's on your paycheck, which he had in his pocket.
In his front pocket. How convenient,
Luckily,
right?
right? Yeah. Exactly, luckily. And Superboy, instead of telling Lana, like, you got to get out of here, go be safe, he like has her with him.
And just hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, all right. Yeah.
Let's just hang out with this vampire guy. But this is where he tells him, like, his dad was like this very powerful vampire, forced, like, his mom was one of the victims, forced her to have his child. But
Yeah.
she
Too
was
dark.
scared of him, didn't want him to, you know, be like his dad. So she like just fled as fast as
Yes.
she could, just got as far away as possible, and that his dad's been looking for him ever since. So,
Oh, yeah.
My mother was just one of his many victims. He used his forces to make her carry his child. She hated him, but she loved me from the very day that I was born. So she took me far away from him. Growing up, I thought that I was normal. She knew different. She knew it was only a matter of time before the curse of my bloodline caught up with me. So she instilled me with the courage to fight back, to reject my father's ways.
No, half right there. They explain it right there. I didn't even pick that up. Yeah.
yeah, so that's like where we get. And he says, like you mentioned, the creature that accosted Lana. I like this line.
That creature who accosted Lana, that was one of my kind.
One of your kind?
Yes. A lot stronger than me. And older.
It's like, all right.
I also like how he shows them, right? He's like, well, look, and he goes into the mirror, right? The classic
mirror, yeah.
vampires can't see this. But then he does this thing. So there's kind of two things that I've never really seen, and I've seen like a lot of vampire stuff, Jared. But
Yeah.
the one thing that the old vampire says when he's like, you know, the opposite sex are drawn to us, that's kind of new. I'm like, all right. So that would mean like women vampires would attract men vampires. Okay,
Right.
that's interesting.
Which
and
we
I'm
do see later on in the sequel. Spoiler
interesting.
alert. Yeah.
Okay. And that makes me think too, like, oh, that's an interesting feat to add onto the vampire, because that makes me think about like mating stuff. Like, is there like mating things involved? Right. Got to create more vampires. So then this thing where he's able to like will his reflection into the mirror. I'd never seen that before. I was like, oh, that's kind of a different thing.
I hadn't either. And it was because of his serum. So
yeah,
because he got into medicine specifically because he views this as a disease and he thinks maybe he could control it, and so he created the serum, just like Blade and Whistler, to help with his bloodlust and all that.
Shout out to Chris Christopherson. All right,
I know, R.I.P. You pour one out, you know. But I do like Superboy says, you know,
supernatural forces seem to be one of the few things that can harm me.
Right.
So he, you know, because Byron's like, well, most people are freaked out when they find out I'm a vampire, and and Superboy's like, yeah. Old hat, you know.
He's like, you think I wear this costume for kicks, or
that's right.
Clearly,
That's
I'm not sweating you, bud. You know what I mean?
But Superboy also like commiserates with him. He's like, well, people usually freak out when they find out I'm from another planet. So, and Lana's like, hey, you too, like best buds, all the
like kindred
Twinkies.
spirits, right? Exactly. She's already all, you know, friend zoning them. I'm like,
I know,
easy,
like,
Lana, easy, right?
Oh man.
Yeah, but you're right, Jerry. The serum, he says, is like, it lets me walk in the day, because we see him working in the daylight, right? So again, if you were watching this for the first time and didn't see the title, you know, you could have wondered, because you're like, well, it's the daytime when he's in the shop with the robbers and stuff. So you're like, vampire might not occur to you right away. You know what I mean? So you know, up until you get to the old vampire in the full on garb, then you're like, oh, okay, vampires.
yeah. That at that point, like, there's no turning back. Little known fact, in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the vampires can go out in the daylight. They're just less powerful. And they can only change their form like at, I think it's like right at daybreak, at noon, and like right at sunset.
No kidding.
So they don't have as many powers. They're also a little bit weaker, but they can go out. So
okay.
Anyway, so he sees vampirism as a disease. He thinks he can cure it,
Mhm.
and the old one that is turned into mist is still mist, and he comes in through the vents, and he like shows up and like bites and it seems like kills or turns Byron.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, whoa. And Byron, as he's like falling down, apparently almost dead, says something like pain, like pain
yes.
can stop it or something like that. The
Hmm.
pain.
Look out!
Cheers.
Pain. Use pain.
And so Superboy and the old one, they just kind of talk for a little bit. Like they're just
Yeah.
I was like,
And he,
Superboy, do something. But no,
yeah,
he's just talking with him like man, that's
right.
not cool. Don't do that.
And then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna mind control you. I don't,
That's
why am
right.
I wasting time chit chatting here? You know what I
He's
mean?
like,
So
we got to get rid of all this serum stuff. Like, there's gonna be a fire, and you're gonna start it with your heat vision.
you're
And
right. There is like a long conversation between all that, and he's like,
yeah, what the heck?
what? I was like, what? Just get this guy and like, squeeze him or fling him into space or something. You know what I mean?
But I do like how he hears, like in his mind, he hears Byron's voice saying about pain and use the pain or something,
Yes,
and he
yeah,
hears Lana saying like Superboy, fight it, and so he like uses his heat vision instead of on the serum on his own hands and like burns his hands on purpose, which
yeah.
I didn't know he could do that. I mean,
Right.
I-
That's interesting. That's almost like when you see him in the animated series doing the shaving thing. He kind of
right,
looks and he shaves with his
Ex-
own. And I was like, why didn't
exactly.
his heat vision just melt through the mirror? But then I got to think, I guess he can kind of turn it on and off. You know, like pull it, pull the strength of it, so he can. I don't know. Superman's powers are out there. You know what
They're
I
not
mean?
super defined,
Yeah, no,
but
they're not.
pun intended. But so he's able to resist, and I like how he grabs the old vampire, and the vampire is like, "Come on, man! Like, what are you gonna do?" And so Superboy just flies him out into like space, and he's like, "Well, like I'm a creature of the night. This isn't gonna hurt me." And then the sun comes up, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh," and he just blows up.
You fool. Darkness is my friend. The night will cloak me.
Not for long.
The sun! No, not the sun!
I was like, wow, that was pretty
It was smart
epic
though.
right there,
Yeah,
Superman. You know what I mean? But
it was
Superboy.
smart.
But also, I feel like the old vampire was just like, darkness is my ally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh wait, the sun's out here too. Like, damn it!
That's right.
Like,
Oh man.
'cause
Right, right.
the whole flight, he's just getting carried. You know what I mean? He's like,
Yeah, he doesn't even try to resist. He's just like, "Oh, you got me." Like,
I mean,
"Oh, you got
like
me."
Jerry, he could have just turned to mist again and gotten out of there. You know what I mean?
That's
So
true. But also when they were fighting, like after he kind of breaks away and the guy tries to attack him and bite him, Superboy grabs like this lead pipe and like puts it in his mouth. I mean,
yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot about
I
that.
was cracking up so hard at that. My son was watching it with me, and he had a look of like terror that I was just cackling like this is the dumbest thing. And I love Superman, and I know it can be campy, but that was bad. And
Yeah, I know. I was like, I don't think there was like a single punch thrown. I was like, wait a minute, hold
I
on here.
know, yeah, I was like, come on, you could have like literally taken his head off with your punch, man.
I will say this though, Jerry, it left me a lot of spaces to think about vampires though, because there's that part too where the old vampire is coming into Byron's building, where like another resident walks in and the door's just kind of ajar, and he turns to smoke, and I said, wait a minute, he wasn't invited. But then I thought to myself, well, this leaves the question, what is an invitation, right? Like an open door could be viewed as an invitation. Like
Oh,
how
that's
does
interesting.
how does the vampires, like, you know what I mean? Like that's always, in some iterations that people can rescind their invitation and then they like get forced out. You know what I mean? But
Right.
but I'm like, how does that work? You know what I mean? I said, look, I guess the open door was like, well, I'm not being stopped from coming in, so that's kind of like an invitation in. I was like,
Yeah,
all
that's
right,
true. That's a good
hey,
point.
same thing as if you leave your front door unlocked, right? That's an invitation to burglars to come on in.
Nope,
So,
nope,
no,
not here.
exactly.
Lock, turn the
Oh
alarm
yeah,
on.
absolutely, absolutely. We shoot first in Texas.
But so like that's kind of it. And then later on, like they're just talking to Byron, and like you mentioned, he's like, "Hey, you should stick around." And he's like, "No, I got to
Yeah,
keep moving because my dad will definitely be after me now." And he just like hitchhikes away with this pretty blonde, and somehow
yeah,
cuts her finger, and you see like he's struggling with it, and then they drive
yeah.
away. And yeah, the sequel's wild. So
Okay, I got to
the,
check it out, man. This one, like I said, it left me with a lot of questions. I was like, all right.
yeah,
It almost reminded me, Jerry, like of shows of that time, which I guess this was kind of the things that happened in shows in the '80s, which made them great. It's like it reminded me of like a Tales from the Dark Side or like
yeah.
an episode of The Outer Limits. You know what I
Do you
mean? I was like,
remember that
oh, okay.
show Forever Night? Did you see that one?
Yes, I
He's
do
the
remember
cop
that.
vampire. He like
Yeah,
is
yeah,
on the
Forever
night
Night.
squad. Yeah,
I used
yeah.
to watch that with my dad, and then there was another one. Do you remember one, Jerry? It was just called Werewolf. It was
Yes,
just called
yes.
Werewolf.
I want to cover
Dude,
that. Yeah, there's
I
a Halloween
I
episode.
I
So
always talk to that about with Adam, and I'm always like, dude, he's like, I don't remember it. And I go, for the longest time, aside from Michael Jackson Thriller, that was what I thought was the best werewolf transformation. I was like, man, that
oh
looks
wow,
so
even over
cool.
American Werewolf in Paris.
I thought so. Yeah,
Wow.
I thought it looked cooler than that.
Tonight, you are about to begin a journey into terror.
When the world isn't the same as our minds believe, then we are in a nightmare. And nothing is worse than a nightmare. Except one you can't wake up from.
2 more kids were killed last night.
The cycle has begun. Now there's silver bullets in that gun. You can end the curse by severing the original bloodline.
What's happening to you?
I did it. I killed last night, Kelly.
You're one of mine, aren't you?
I don't want to be like this.
You come to kill me.
You're gonna send a bounty hunter after this kid?
What the hell you got in there?
I don't know. Lock your doors. Turn off the lights. Find a chair that's comfortable and safe. Prepare yourself for werewolf. Next.
And just the way he had that the pentagram on the hand, and when the
Right.
stars would align, and
Right.
dude, I thought that was and he was, part of the story was him kind of being on the run too, being hunted by, I think it was Chuck Pearson.
I don't remember. I'd have
I
to.
think he was. I
I
think
don't
he was
remember
from
who
the
it was. Yeah.
the old '60s show, The Rifleman. I think is what he was from.
Oh
But,
wow, nice.
he's an old man in this show, whatever. But and there was even a comic book
Hey,
series.
he's no Lloyd Bachner though.
No, definitely not.
I'm just
Definitely not. You know what's so funny, Jerry? Speaking of that too, we covered an episode a couple Halloweens back of Tales of the Dark Side, and I talked about one of my favorite episodes of that is about this guy that's a writer. Maybe you remember this episode, Jerry. This guy, he's a writer, right? But you find out that he's got an actual vampire telling him his stories, and of course, when that vampire comes out and you see him, he's in the full garb, right? The high,
of course,
the high cape, and I always remember it's so corny at the end, right? Because the guy kills him essentially, right? Because he's like, he's like, hey, I want credit for these stories you're writing, these books you're selling, right? And he's always like, also, too many make me sound like campy, like it's it's kind of crummy or whatever. And he's like, look, man, just you're just the subject matter. Like I'm already doing this on my own, so they get into it, right? And he inadvertently kills him. And at the same time, he's got like his agent or whatever manager there, and she's like he's revealing all this to her, and she's like, what? I thought like that was out of your mind, and it was an actual vampire. So he's got this coffin behind his bookcase, right? So the guy dies in there. That's where he kind of like stakes him with like a fork, right? A silver fork.
Yeah.
So it kind of plays with the werewolf stuff, and he dies in there, right? Well, sure enough, he ends up struggling with the manager somehow, and he cuts himself. I'm getting it kind of a little bit muddled here, but blood drips on the ashes, and the vampire reemerges.
Oh yeah.
He kills the guy, and then him and the agent start talking. And he's like, "Well," she's like, "Why don't I, make you famous, right?" And he like literally throws on this pair of shades like out of nowhere. You're like, it's so corny, right?
Yeah.
But I always loved that episode because I thought it was so hilarious. I later on, years later, Jerry, I'm listening to Game of Thrones, the audiobooks, and the voice of all the characters is that guy, the vampire. I was like,
great.
holy cow, that's crazy. He's apparently very famous for his voice acting, but it's just a totally corny episode. It reminded me just like the Superboy episode.
Yeah, this Superboy was pretty corny. Yeah, I liked it, but it was still like well, okay, I get why you replaced it. But Lois and Clark had lots of corny moments as well,
Oh,
so I
absolutely.
can't
Yeah,
say
no
anything
doubt.
about that.
Good moments,
So
but corny moments.
if you could be in this episode, who would you be?
Oh man, I mean, anytime you get a chance to be Superboy, wear the S. You gotta want to wear the
I
S,
know,
definitely.
yeah, yeah.
But I gotta say, I think Byron might have been the coolest character.
Oh,
Like
dude, he's like suave and
very
yeah,
suave. Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
man, I might have stuck around Schusterville a little bit. You know what I mean? If I was him, hung out. He already had a residency. He had his own place. You know what I mean? His
Hmm.
chemistry set up. He kind of had a good setup going. But I guess since his dad knew he was on the way. But of course, they don't say the word Dracula in this episode, so that was lost on me.
No,
That
you
was his
only know
dad.
because of the title. Like that's literally
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
then
So
in the sequel episode, 8 episodes later is when you find out that it's Dracula. Yeah.
yeah, interesting. Now, Jerry, the costume that Superboy wears, it looks very Reeve-esque. Is it an
It very
exact?
I don't know, but it does
Okay.
look very much like it for sure.
And I know
Uh,
you said it was the same creators, right?
it was, so it makes sense that they would try to stick with it as close as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because I was like, man, that's like I remember like right away when I saw him come out, I was like, oh, that's a great looking costume. Like it looks,
Yeah.
like Reeves.
I mean, it really was as corny and like it is as it is nowadays. I still love his costume. Something about it that it's just like, man, that's
Yeah,
Superman when you see him in the comics. That's Superman.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah. I mean, when I see
uh,
Christopher Reeve, man, I'm just like, man, that guy really wears that suit.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And imagine if he had just like because apparently when he trained, he had some really good cuts and he got like really, really muscular and good looking,
Mhm.
but like you couldn't tell because it's the costume itself is just kind
Sure,
of,
sure. Yeah.
the material. But imagine if they had like the sculpted look like some of the
Oh,
others
right.
and it
Yeah.
would have nailed it. But
Well, I know he's Christopher Reeve was one of the bigger Supermen. I think he's 6'4", and I think that David
yeah, he was
Cornsweet
tall.
now
Yeah.
is 6'4". And I think they said Christopher Reeve's the only one to not wear any type of pads. It was just him in the suit. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? So, I mean, and I think he got up there like to like 220, 230.
Something
He
like that.
did
Yeah.
bulk up. I mean, like,
Hmm.
6'4" on that frame, that's like a football player body. You know what I mean? So,
For real.
all respect. I mean, that's how a superhero looks, right? When you see how Alex Ross draws him, that's like what
Oh,
a real
it's
guy would
exactly
look
like
like.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what like a real guy would look like. So I always think about that too. Even when he draws Batman, where like there's like kind of like wrinkles in the suit, like at the elbows and something. Like, well, that's
Right.
how a normal suit
That's
would
how it
look.
would be. Yeah, it would bunch up
You
there.
know,
If you're wearing spandex, it's gonna bunch. And
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, I
It's
love
not going to
that.
protect you against knives and dogs, but
That's right. You might want to wear some armor, but
yeah,
if you're gonna wear spandex, that's how it's gonna look.
exactly.
So, what would you say is your happiest like moment of this episode here?
Oh man, there was a bunch. I mean, again, too, because it kind of like it scratched my itch for Halloween and for vampires. You know what I mean? But then
Yeah.
you've also got Superboy here, so I would have to say it would be the face-off between the old vampire and Superboy because you're seeing that classic vampire costume and you're seeing the Superman costume, on Superboy, and it's just like, oh, this is like straight out of like a comic book. You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Like that. This is a
yeah,
comic booky story right here of
it really is.
Dracula versus Superboy.
And I mean, it really is. And the fact that he looks in that outfit, I mean, like, yeah, it's totally comic booky. For me, I think it was just when he was, Lana screams and he opens the shirt and you see the S under it. I was like, yes,
That was
Superboy. And
great.
yeah.
That was great. No
Oh
doubt.
man,
No
good
doubt.
stuff. Yeah. But now we come to my favorite part of the show, which is Gag Me with the
Okay.
Spoon, where we do
Okay.
our best impression of our least favorite part of this episode here. If you want to go first, as a guest, I'll let you go first to set up the
Um,
scene, or I can go first if you'd prefer.
man, you go first, Jerry, because I got to think for a second here about what I liked best.
So, this is from Superboy. It's when he's talking. They're in the lab. This is where he's talking to Byron, and he's been telling him like, there's something weird about you. He goes, "There's something flowing through you, some strange energy force that defies the laws of science." It's like, okay, well, this dialogue is totally from like 70s, 80s era comic books. I
I
get
love that. I love that. That's great. No, totally. There's not a lot of you don't need to think about it, right? Because they give it all to you right there.
it. Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
For me, Jerry, I probably got to think. I don't know. Do you have the exact line? You can cut me in. You can punch me in later. But the exact line. What does the old vampire say when he calls to her in the alleyway?
Oh, I don't have it.
Oh man, I gotta.
I wish I
hear.
did, but
I
he
want to
does say
hear.
something about like the weaker sex or the opposite sex. It's something like that.
Because she's like, I'm drawn to you, and he's like, that's an effect we have over the opposite sex. So, he doesn't even do a Dracula voice. He doesn't even do a vampire voice. It's just
it's not
very like
not Transylvanian at all. Yeah, it's
not
they don't even have it. I'm
nothing.
sorry.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's okay. I'm just gonna kind of take it like I'll do it as
the
I think it
essence of
is.
it. Yeah,
The essence of it. Yeah. Okay, but when the old vampire is calling to Lana, we don't know it's him yet, right? We think it might be Byron, but she's in the alleyway. And again, this classic smoke-filled alleyway, and she just hears this voice, and she's like, I'm drawn to you for some reason, and he says, that's an effect we have over the opposite sex. You know what I mean? So, I almost want to do it in a Dracula voice form. That is an effect we have over the opposite sex. Like, because he didn't even try. I was
he
like,
didn't try. No,
I was like, what is y'all's vampire country of origin? Because I feel like you guys are just from South Beach. You know what I mean?
so we do know in the sequel, we do know there's Transylvania.
Okay, good. Okay,
But
so they are Romanian.
but who knows where that guy's from? He might be from like Omaha, Nebraska, for all we know.
That's when Dracula did his tour of the states, and he just found
that's right.
Or you know what? He might have got him on the Love Boat. Jerry, you said he was from the Love Boat.
It's canon. It's canon now. I believe it.
They were in international waters. Dracula's
right.
out and about, cruising for a snack. He sees this old guy on the deck. You know what I mean? There you go. I like
He's
it.
like,
I like it. Works.
Seafood.
I love it.
Terrible dad joke. All right. But, G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. What do you think the other half is?
The other half is, Jerry, that if you're a vampire getting taken into space, be aware that that's where the sun also is.
That's great.
Yeah. I was like, come on, man. I mean,
I know. But you're right. He didn't even try to like get away. He was just like, what are you going to do to me?
I know. He's just like, he's almost like, you dumb boy. Like, space is dark and I thrive in the dark. And I'm like, there's also a big ball of fire in the sky.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard of it, called the sun.
Oh, it's terrible. That was better than mine. So I thought if no one's half the battle, the other half was just ripping off media no one remembers so you can use it as a basis for your movie. So...
No, that's perfect. Dude, like you said, Goyer made millions of bucks off of this idea.
Oh yeah.
I mean, dude, Jerry, I think you're really hitting on something here, man. No one's making this connection.
I'm going to spread it around. I don't know if it's true, but that's that. No, I'm not going to spread
Jerry,
that. But
come on.
Like for real, it's close. It's super close. Like
if somebody told me that the title of this episode was White Blade, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Obviously, that's it. I mean, like, what is this? Almost like 10 years earlier? 12?
Well, this is from
11 years.
This is from 1989. And so
Blade is 99.
99. So yeah, 10 years earlier.
Wow. You see, he also waited, right? Perfect amount of time. He's like, all right, I've been
everyone's gonna forget it.
I need kind of a nobody Marvel character that no one really cares about. Okay,
right.
Blade. Spirits of Vengeance is there a little bit, because talk about a C character, right? Blade was,
yeah.
Yeah, he was no Black Panther. I mean, and then it's like, dang, Wesley Snipes made him this super, like, kick butt guy. You know what I mean?
Overnight,
like,
everybody knew who Blade was.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, so much so that when Deadpool and Wolverine came out, I mean, like, that was a huge ovation. Like,
that was great. I did like that cameo, and I was like, oh man, they haven't gotten the new one right yet, the script for it. So,
dude, he owes a debt of gratitude, I think. I mean, he owes a debt
to Superboy.
To Superboy, absolutely.
Blade's popularity is all because of Superboy.
And Byron Shelley, don't forget.
And Byron, that's right.
Son of Dracula.
That's right. We got it. Chuck, this has been a lot of fun. Tell me about Just Another Friday Night or anything else you want to plug.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, always want to plug the old Friday night show. Just Another Friday Night. Again, we like to call ourselves San Antonio and South Texas' premier pop culture podcast with P Breaks, live on Friday nights, most Friday nights, on YouTube live and on Facebook live. Catch us there. But after the show, we're on all the places where podcasts are. But during the show, we invite you to come on and talk with us on whatever we're talking about at the time, because that's part of our whole thing, is being live and having you guys there to chat with us. Jerry D has joined us many times. times. It's always great when Jerry chimes in either in the comments or is a guest on us with the show. Always happy to have Jerry on, and so share that time with them. But yeah, we talk about kind of like everything Jerry talks about in the 80s, but in the present time, you know what I mean? So
That's right.
Movies, music, TV, streaming shows, you know what I mean? So I don't know what we've got on the docket just now, but Halloween time, we'd like to do spooky stuff too. We have go back a couple of seasons. We did like slasher flicks. We've done the Universal monsters. We've done all of the, we did an episode just about all the different things that have the word Tales in them. So we did like Tales of the Walking Dead, Tales of the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt, yeah.
Yeah, we did Tales from the Hood also. So
Tales from the Hood. There was also the spin-off show Tales from the Crypt Keeper, the cartoon.
Oh, you know what? We haven't done that. Have you done that, Jerry?
No, I haven't yet. It's there's a few Halloween things on the list here. Speaking of Tales from the Dark Side, there was an episode, Christmas episode. And so I definitely want to cover that. Yeah, it was a good one too. So
let me know, Jerry, because I've got someone's box set here that I've been borrowing, and I'm trying to watch my way through it. So
okay,
I'll check
I don't
it
remember
out.
the exact number, but it's the one with the Grither.
Oh, okay. Now I got to look that up. Yeah.
Good stuff. It's good stuff.
I love it, man. Jerry, every time I'm here with you, you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter what time of year it is, but it feels like we're sitting around like near a fireplace, drinking hot cocoa and talking about fun stuff from a bygone era.
Man, that monster cereal episode is still one of my all-time favorites. It was so fun.
Dude, we had such a great time, man. And you know what? I mean, I don't know if we're supposed to say or not, but we're supposed to have Anthony with us tonight, so I'm missing him right now. But
I am too. Yeah.
If we do this sequel episode, which I really do want to watch now, we got to get him. We got to get him with us for that.
For sure, yeah. I didn't want to spoil too much, but I wanted to give just enough so that we could, have it in there. But yeah, we definitely got to talk the second one. I'm very excited. This was fun.
Yeah,
so
loved it, man.
I can't wait. But thanks again, and I'm going to end it with, I'm a vampire, not a magician. So check us out on our social media pages, which you can find at linktree.com/totallyradchristmas. And if you're feeling like Byron gazing at Lana, leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more people and spread some rad holiday cheer. Now, don't forget to check out our merch shop on tpublic.com and our super dope website, totallyradchristmas.com. Death and thirst and blood. That's all there is. Later, dudes.
You will find there are forces on the dark side that not even your powers can withstand.
An evil spirit is out for blood.
Darkness is my friend.
Does Superboy fall under his spell?
You cannot defy me.
Superboy, don't give in.
On the next Superboy.